part of the reason that we are here today is because it's CalEITC week. Can you tell us a little bit more about the CalEITC and what it is?
Sure. CalEITC is a very interesting tax credit. It actually started in 2015, and what it does, it offers support to our low-income folks, Californians, basically. People who are working and making money. This is like either a cashback to their pockets, or it can reduce the amount of tax liabilities that they have.
Okay. And how does one qualify for the CalEITC?
First and foremost, because it's California, you have to be part of California at least for 6 months. And basically, it depends on the size of your family and your earned income amount. So we start you have to be 18 and older, and it can be younger than 18, but if that's the case, you have to have a qualified child. And there are some criteria such as, again, income limits, like you at least make $1 of earned income and do not make more than $30,000. And have a qualified child. That helps make the bigger amount that you will receive, but not necessarily you need to have a child. And most important thing is that you have to live in California at least for 6 months during the year.
Okay. So what I heard is you must live in California for at least 6 months. You can make at minimum of $1, which is great, right? So as long as you made $1 last year, you can qualify. And the more children you have, the higher refund you will receive. But you can also qualify as a single person.
That's correct. Yes, and there's also an age requirement.
Okay.
That for people is to be 18 or at least have a child, qualified child.
Okay. So at least 18. So is this something that, say I go to file my taxes, that I will get it automatically? Is this something that I would get automatically, or do I have to file my taxes to get the CalEITC?
In order to receive the CalEITC, you have to file your taxes, yes.
Okay. So I've heard that the federal EITC is the #1 anti-poverty program in the United States. Though the CalEITC credit is smaller, can you tell us why tax credits play such an important role in poverty reduction?
Of course. So the population that we are assisting is basically low to moderate income community, individuals and families. So for us, because there's CalEITC and the federal one, like the earned income tax credit, is reducing the tax liability, the amounts that people owe, or act as a cashback money in their account. This is the money that comes back to the family, and they can use it for buying basically the necessities of the life, paying their rent, and making sure that they have at least some savings for the rainy days.
Okay. There's lots of things that you can do when you get your refund through both the CalEITC and the EITC. So you mentioned this before, but can you reiterate, do you need to have dependents to qualify for either of these programs?
No, you do not need to have a qualified child or qualified dependent to qualify for EITC or California Earned Income Tax Credit.
Okay, that's good to know. Well, can you tell us a little bit more, for those who do have dependents, how would somebody qualify as a dependent, and do they have to be a biological child?
No, they don't have to be a biological child, but normally you can claim a dependent who is basically a U.S. citizen, or a child that has a green card, like a U.S. resident alien or U.S. national, or it could be a resident of Canada or Mexico. So there is that aspect of who can you in general be your dependent. And then there should be a relationship. It could be your son, your daughter, your stepchild, your foster child, or descendant of any of them. You can also claim your siblings as a dependent, and then in the same way your half siblings, step siblings, and even if you adopt a child, that child is also considered as a qualifying dependent.
Okay, great. And how about, I have a cat back here, so that might be what you be hearing in the background. She's very vocal. How about filing status? Does that affect eligibility for CalEITC?
So yes, when you have a child or dependent, you receive a bigger dollar amount. So still, the amount of money that you're supposed to make is in the range of $1 to $30,000, but the amount of the money that comes back to you basically is bigger based on the number of the children that you have. For example, for someone who does not have a child, the maximum that they can receive is up to 500. For the CalEITC is up to $275. But if they have a dependent, they can receive up to $1,843. So that's the difference. And if they have two children, this is up to $3,037. And if they have more, $3,417. So you see, with the number of the children or dependents that they have, the amount of the CalEITC also grows up, basically.
Right, it increases, yeah, based on the dependence amounts. Okay, that's good to know. So what is the reason someone might choose one filing status over another? For example, married filing separately instead of married filing jointly?
People have their own, basically individual ideas, but in general, we suggest everyone. This is a suggestion again. This is an option that they have to choose marriage filing joint. As a result, they receive all the tax credits that they qualify for. When they file married as filing separately, they do not qualify for earned income tax credit or CalEITC. So that's the main thing that they lose, and this is the biggest cashback that they can receive. They're just depriving themselves. But I understand a lot of times couples might not get along, so they might not want to file together, or maybe one spouse has owes, for example, to the IRS previously before they got married, so that might be a reason. Or there are other basic reasons that people might want to file separately. But we always encourage them to file jointly if it's possible.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is suggested, recommended married filing jointly to increase the refund. But if you have personal circumstances, like we mentioned, then consider that when choosing your status.
Yes.
And how about head of household? How is that decided?
So there are two different ways that a person can become a head of household. Normally, if you are married and you did not live with your spouse the last 6 months of the year, during the year, so let's say from end of June afterwards, you did not live with your spouse, and you are covering the financial requirements of the house. So you are paying for the roof over the head of the children, and you have a dependent that you're financially taking care of. You could be the head of household, or a person could be married, and so this was the base of the case that people were married, but they did not live together for the last 6 months of the year, but they financially supported the house, and the child lived with them more than half of the year. So that's basically the qualifying factor. But people could also be single, but they are providing and supporting someone else. It could be parents or aunt or uncle or someone that is basically living with them for the full year, for the whole year. And that person does not have an income of more than basically $4,300, and basically relies on you for the necessities of life. That way you can also become a head of household.
Okay, thank you for that detailed answer. So what if somebody just found out that they qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit, which is the federal EITC, but never claimed it? Would it be too late for them to claim it?
No, it's not. We can always go back up to 3 years and amend the tax returns if that's the case. Now, in order to receive the Earned Income Tax Credit, the federal EITC, people have to have a valid Social Security number. And we have a lot of undocumented immigrants who live in California, and they are going through the process of receiving a Social Security number. For those who receive the Social Security number today, they cannot go back and amend the previous years because they just received it as of today, so they qualify for this year. But if people just forgot, or basically their marital status was not correctly on the tax return, they can go back and amend that tax return.
Got it. And I see a question in the chat that I want to get to before we forget about it. We'll be taking questions also at the end that are general, right? Not like specific questions to each person's circumstance, but this one I think could be relevant to other people. It says, me and my husband live together, so can he not be head of household?
If you are married, basically the options that you have is to marriage filing joint or marriage filing separate. So nobody is the head of household in this case if you're living together and you're married. So for the option that I mentioned, head of household, is for someone who is married, but they did not live together the last 6 months of the year.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. So we were talking about the federal EITC and having a Social Security number and being able to, if you get a Social Security number, you can then qualify for the federal EITC. Unfortunately, I-10s are not qualified for the federal EITC, but can you tell us, for those people who do have I-10 numbers, do they qualify for any tax credits? Let's start there, and then we'll move on to the other questions.
Yes, they qualify definitely for CalEITC if they meet the other criteria like the income limit, and they can always receive a child tax credit if they have children.
Okay.
For sure.
Great. So if you have an I-10, still file your taxes because you'll still get money back from the CalEITC and the child tax credit.
Yeah, and that money is huge. Sometimes it's up to $3,400.
Yep, you know, everybody could use that money. Okay, so what if someone has an expired I-10 or they don't have one yet? Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. If they come to our sites, we're happy to help them to renew their I-10s. And if someone has never filed their taxes and do not have a Social Security numbers, we have certified acceptance agents that help them to not only file their taxes, but also request to obtain an I-10 number. And so we are happy at our VITA sites to assist anyone who lives in California more than 6 months and is low income and meets the other criteria, basically, as far as the income limits.
Perfect. So folks can go into VITA sites, free tax prep sites, and get help with, excuse me, not only filing taxes, but also applying for an I-10.
Correct.
In person, right? Okay, so what if we're going to go through some other circumstances that might answer some folks' questions. So what if all my income is through SSI? Can I claim credits like the CalEITC?
So to qualify for Earned Income Tax Credit, you should have earned income. So the examples of earned income is like wages, salaries, tips, or any other income that you normally withhold taxes in California for that. These are the examples of earned income. But if your only income is a supplement income through social services and it's not coming from your retirement, that does not qualify you as an earned income. So unfortunately, no, you will not receive the California earned income or federal.
Okay. Well, thanks for the clarification. So what if I haven't filed my taxes in a couple years because my income is below the limits? Is there a benefit to filing my taxes even if I don't have to?
Yes, yes, and yes. We always encourage people to file their taxes, no matter if they have a filing requirement or not. To them, a lot of people, they call and ask us just off the bat, I made $8,000. Should I file or I shouldn't file? Should not file. These people who have small amount of income are the individuals and basically people who receive most benefits from filing taxes. Again, for California earned income, as long as you're making between $1 and $30,000, you qualify for the CalEITC. And similarly with the federal EITC. Or they might have qualify for education credit, or if they have a child tax credit. Especially in California, we have a young child tax credit as well, so for kids who are younger than 5 years old. So there's a lot of money that people might be able to receive, but because they make little amount of income, they think they do not have to file.
Mm-hmm. But what I'm hearing is there's lots of opportunities, even if you don't think that you might get money back or have a reason to file, still file, because there are lots of credits available, particularly in California.
That's correct. And our service is free, so they're not going to lose anything. They're not paying anything out of their pocket to get these taxes prepared. A lot of times when people are expecting, especially in California, they're expecting a stimulus money. This money is based on if you have filed, for example, your taxes in 2020 or 2021. So you might qualify for it, but because you did not file your taxes, you might not be able to receive that. So that was the case with the stimulus money that we're supposed to receive, SGI 1 and 2, or this one that is just coming in as middle class tax refund. These are the requirements that people had. If they have filed their taxes in 2020 and 2021, they get basically that. If they want to go ahead and file it now to receive those stimulus, it's too late for just California stimulus money.
Okay. And I see a question in the chat. Can you file without income to be able to get any credits, education credits, etc.?
So again, are you a student basically in higher education level or not? And if yes, are you pursuing a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree? Is your education towards receiving a degree or not? For example, you might be going to classes for cosmetology or short amount of time for example, to become a esthetician. So, but those basically courses do not qualify you towards receiving an education credit. And for sure, bring your documents to the sites and we will prepare your taxes and let you know if you qualify.
So just check it out. Go to, find your closest free tax prep or VITA site, and you can also go on myfreetaxes.org and get help with filing or file on your own. And then you mentioned this a little bit, but say I've always paid a company to do my taxes, but I heard there are ways to file for free. Can anyone file for free, or are there income limits?
So yes and no. If you would like to bring your taxes to us, so we file your taxes for you, and you do not touch anything, as far as the taxes, we have an income limit of $60,000.
Okay.
So that's number one. That now let's say that you make more than $60,000. When you go to myfreetaxes.org or .com, you'll see that there is, if you make between $60,000 and less than $73,000, you qualify to use myfreetaxes.com or .org to do your taxes yourself, and basically you will be in charge of that. So that's a program that the same program that we're using at our sites to prepare taxes, you'll have access to that same software. And that software can be starting in Spanish and ending in Spanish if you choose the language to be Spanish, or it could be in English. There is chat option. There's also phone number for people to call and receive the support if they have questions. Now, if they make more than $73,000, there is still the free filing option available to them. So they can answer that on the myfreetaxes.org as no. And they will be directed to the Cash App program, and they can file their taxes for free as well. So in general, we are taking care of everyone who wants.
Your internet's a little going in and out there. We heard most of what you said, but
So do you want me to repeat which part?
No, we heard, I think you can go online to myfreetaxes.org, and there are income limits up to $73,000, and then above that you'd be directed to the Cash App website where you can also file for free.
That's correct.
Got you. So another scenario, say I've been working remotely from home for the past year. Am I allowed to claim a home office on my taxes?
So the answer is yes, you can, but our VITA program is free, but it's limited as how much service we can provide you. Mm-hmm. So our volunteers are not trained to help you with claiming your home office. So if you take this to a paid preparer outside or try My Free Taxes and file it yourself, yes, you can claim it. But if you're bringing it and you're expecting us to do everything, that's out of the scope of our VITA program.
Okay. So 3 more questions, and then if you do have a question, a general question, please put it in the chat and we'll do our best to answer it. So say I moved to California in December and I only lived in California for a month. Would I still file a return here?
So we welcome you to California, but you are not a Californian yet. So in order to file a state, basically, you should be a resident at least for 6 months. If you do not have, during the month of December that you lived in California, if you had a California-sourced income, the answer is yes. You will file a state tax, basically income tax as well. But if during that month you did not have any California-sourced income, you do not need to file.
Okay. And I do see a question in the chat. We have someone who has a 17-year-old dependent who worked in 2022. Can she still be dependent when she files?
Yes.
17-year-old daughter.
Yes, that's correct. So in order to claim someone as your qualifying child, you can claim your children who are under 19 and by the end of the year. So in your case, your daughter or your dependent is only 17. For sure, you can claim that person. And as far as the income limit, children can make any amount of money. They could be like stars or basically making singers, like very famous people who start very young. They can make a lot of money and still parents can claim them. It depends if that money that comes through the door, if children are just saving it for the future or are they supporting themselves with the money or not. So if the children are not providing their own financial support and the parents are providing more than at least half of the support for the year, that qualifies the parents to claim them as children.
Great, thank you. Good question. Another scenario, if I'm a foster parent, can I claim my foster child as a dependent?
Of course, yes, definitely.
And last but not least, my spouse and I are divorced, but share custody of our children. can we both claim our children as dependents?
It depends. It's yes and no. So a lot of folks, they bring, we ask them this question that, where did this child or dependent live? If you want to claim your child, the child has to live with you at least more than half of the year. Now, that's the general rule. Some people have a 50-50 joint custody, physical custody of the children.
Right.
And eventually, the bottom line is the school district, what address is for the child's school district. If the mom is claiming, if the mom's address, then mom should claim the child. If that's. Now, a lot of people, they make an arrangement between themselves that I'm going to claim the child during the odd years, you can have them during the even years. Or even sometimes the divorce decree, the judge will make that decision very clearly who can claim the child on what year and for how long, basically.
Okay. Thank you. And then I see a question from Bela. Where can I get more information on what tax documents I need to file?
Sure. You can go to our website in Orange County. We have our website as ocfreetaxprep.com. Again, it's ocfreetaxprep.com. So we explain to you what you need to bring. We also have a hotline. You can call here. Our number is 888-434-8248. We're open Monday through Friday between 9 and 4 p.m. We'll be happy to schedule an appointment for you and walk you through the process.
Great. So if you are local to Orange County, we have our United Way Orange County here who has ocfreetaxprep.com. And then you can also go to, if you're statewide, there are many local United Ways that you can Google. And we also have our general free tax prep site for myfreetaxes.org with United Ways of California. You can file there on your own. You can file with virtual help, or you can schedule in-person help with a local United Way as well, or a local VITA site. And feel free to please also check out myfreetaxes.org to look at our resource hub and see more ways of what you need to bring to file your taxes and the documents you need to have. I'm going to leave it open for like 2 more minutes in case anybody else has any more questions. Please put them in the chat.
Thank you, Clinton, for showing support.
Yes, thank you, Clinton, for showing support. And can you just, while we're waiting and see if anybody has any more questions, is there anything that you feel like we missed that we need to say? And if not, can you also just recap, your credentials? Because I know that you're a professional with expertise. And despite, we provide these tax supports free of charge, but everybody who's doing these tax supports are professionals who are trained as well. So if you could just
Of course.
for that. Yeah.
Yes, every year we go through the certification exams. So anyone who comes to the site as a tax preparer or any sort of volunteer, they go through the volunteer standard of conduct, which is our ethics test, making sure that we are basically we are taking care of our customer service is good, and also we have the highest standards of conduct. And as far as the tax laws changes every year, so we need to get ourselves updated with federal and state tax. So normally we have a minimum 3 days of tax law instructions, 2 days for federal and 1 day for California. And while we're doing that, our trainings are like 7 hours. We start at 9 a.m. in person till 4 p.m. We go to our local universities and colleges, rent their spaces, and that's how we make sure we have our volunteers trained and get them updated.
Well, thank you for your work, and thank you to the volunteers for their time and effort and energy. And we hope everybody has a great Friday, and file your taxes this tax season and get a large refund check. Make sure you ask about your all the tax credits that you're eligible for. Thanks so much. Oh,
Of
I
course.
see a question right before we're about to sign off. If someone is ill and can't go to a VITA site themselves and wishes for a friend or family member to get their taxes done for them, is that possible, or does the taxpayer have to be there? Good question.
So where do you live? If you live in Orange County, there are sites that are locally in gated communities that they can help their own people who live in that gated community. They go do a site visit and do their taxes. For example, we have Laguna Woods in Orange County that they do that. That depends on your site and if they are able to provide this service or not. And if not, you can always use My Free Taxes or ask a friend or family to do that on myfreetaxes.org. Go log in there and create an account, and you can do online tax preparation. Again, it depends if your local United Way or local VITA program has the resources to provide you with the in-home visits.
So I think that the question is also, say I'm sick, and I can't go get my taxes. Can my friend bring my taxes for me, or do I need to be there in person?
They can bring it to start with, but when it's finished, we cannot discuss your tax return with anyone else but you. So the final tax prep will be done with you, the quality review. So we'll go line by line, explain the refund amount to you, and you will sign off the tax. So we need your signature at the bottom.
So someone can drop off, but then you have to pick up and sit down with the tax preparer, or you can go online to myfreetaxes.org and do it there.
That's correct.
Okay. I think that's it for us. Have a great